let's talk about I Am Legend, the vampire classic by Richard Matheson. This was fascinating because, as someone who has read a lot of Stephen King, he often talks about Richard Matheson. He almost seems to be like a father figure creatively to his writing. Like, he will reference his works all the time. He talks about him a lot in like forewords and introductions and afterwords and all of that. He's literally on the afterword of this version. So reading this, it felt a bit like meeting his dad. Like, stylistically, their writing is so similar, and it was kind of cute. It was like, oh, like you could sort of see the beginnings of what would become like Stephen King's trademarks, like he writes, the way he writes his characters, the way his story progresses. It was very Stephen King to me. Of course, Richard Matheson came first, but I think Stephen King has become more of like a household name in the interim. So being able to sort of look back and be like, oh, okay, bit behind the curtain. It was fun to mentally compare this to Salem's Lot, which is Stephen King's vampire epic, to sort of look at the similarities and the differences, because again, it's like one man who's more or less against the whole world. Like in Salem's Lot, you see more of the progression as this whole town gets taken over by vampires. But by the end of it, you are stuck with like a main character who doesn't have the best chances of succeeding because they're everywhere. The vampires, they're everywhere. Can we get into the male gaze though? Oh my goodness. Okay, so the male gaze in Stephen King books, it's there, but there's only a handful where it really bothers me because a lot of the time it's quite incidental and it makes sense with these characters, especially if they're like gross men characters. And I'm like, sure. This, oh my goodness, was this man horny for vampires? Robert Neville, the number of times Robert Neville nearly killed himself because he was down bad for these vampire women, and like they're taunting him and like leering through his peephole in his door, just being like, come outside, like trying, they're preying on his like fragile male sort of desire, which I enjoyed that take on it. But still, I was like, oh, like, is that really where your head is at? You're maybe the last man on earth, and your immediate thought is like, oh, I just really need to, get some vampire nun. The twists and turns in this story as well. Obviously, I can't reveal like what actually happens in the twists because that would ruin the experience. But if you're someone who loves the kind of unreliable narrator where you never really know where you stand with them, this is a perfect book for that, because for like how short it is, the number of times where it completely switches gear, you don't know what to make of the situation, and like the ending in particular floored me. I was like, oh, bravo, like that's an incredible horror ending. I am slowly but surely working my way through the SF Masterworks series. I think I probably won't finish the whole series until I'm about 30 because there's almost 200 books, but I'm loving them so far. And going into this, I almost didn't really know how it qualified. I thought surely this is more horror than it is sci-fi. But what I really enjoyed is that our main character, Robert Neville, he gets into he's like a scientist. He wants to figure out why vampires happened, and he figures out that it's like a bacterial infection that has this symbiotic relationship with the human body where it's feeding on blood cells, but then it's also giving the vampire this like renewed sense of energy and animation, and it can like heal against bullet wounds and stuff like that. And it explained all of it, like why the fumes of the garlic upset their bodies, why they have this aversion to Christianity. And I was here for it. I was like, why don't more vampire stories get into the why? Like this, the sci-fi implications of this were incredible, especially in like a post-pandemic world where we're all a bit on edge around infections and PPE and making sure that like everyone around you is negative. There's a point where this woman comes into his settlement and she has convinced him that she doesn't have the vampire bacteria, but he's constantly on edge, and the suspense, like, oh, it was really good. In the afterword, I think Stephen King says that there have been 3 different film adaptations, which surprised me because the only one that I think I'm aware of is the Will Smith one, so I might watch that one. I will be disappointed though if he doesn't slap the vampire. Like, he slaps the vampire and he's like, keep my wife's blood out your fucking mouth. Like, oh, wouldn't that be a full circle moment? So I would say if you're in the mood for a vampire tale that is bite-sized but bleak, very upsetting, cleverly thought out, this is kind of everything that I wanted The Road to be, because I will die on the hill that that is an overrated book. Like, sue me, it's overrated. There's so many better post-apocalyptic stories for me, and this is one of them. Like, I had a great time with this, and I think if you're looking to get into like the SF Masterwork series, it's a great place to start.